Da 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 da. I'm just waiting for this to show me that I'm streaming. Oh, I'm gonna assume it's working. So hello there, this is stream number 41. I'm working on a web server from scratch, basically, in C++. And today I'm gonna work on some issues I found, again, with my network connection. Actually, I misspelled this, didn't I? This should be network connection. I'm not really handling the graceful versus abrupt close very well, both in my network connection class and in the adapter I have for the web server to use the network connection class. So I'm going to work on that for a while. And when I get to a point where I'm happy with it, I'm going to try it out with my web server. I want to make sure that when we quit the web server, it does the right thing. And also that, right, this one, that connections don't build up, like stale or lingering connections don't build up as the web server runs for a while. Because I want to get to a point where I can put this on the internet so that my viewers can kind of toy around with it and have it not horribly break or get stuck or something like that. So I'm hopeful that I'll get through the cleaning up and improving the network connection class, and I'll be able to have some time left over to doing these last two items, which is I want to make a script to help me out in updating my plugins, and I'll probably enhance the script later to deploy stuff into production, so I can just do it with a quick command. And I want to also update the web client for our chat room in order to match the latest code I put in the server, because this is the client everyone will be using, hopefully, when they interact with my chat room. Although I guess a devious programmer could take a look at my code and make their own client. I don't really expect that. I expect most viewers who are interested in trying it out will just go to the link I post, and that link will be to the web app. So we're going to fix that up. So I kept a note from a previous stream here, which this document I found really useful in understanding. Oh, I already closed it. Let me open it again. In understanding how to do graceful shutdown of a socket. And this is really maybe the important gist of it here. That we want to make sure to do a graceful close, we call shutdown first, saying that we're not sending any more data. Then we will receive a close indication, and we'll continue to call receive basically until we receive that, in order to get back any further data from the other end. And then we call close socket. So as you can see, it's mostly client-side work. The server side is a lot easier. It's when you receive a close, if you have any extra data to send, you continue to send it. Then you just do shutdown close at the same time, basically. So it's often misunderstood how you close a socket correctly or gracefully. So I found this article really useful to understand that, although I had to read it several times. And as you can tell from the little log that of my streams, we've been here before. I think it was, 3 streams ago, I was working on repairing this network connection class. So yeah, it didn't quite get all repaired, so we're working on it again today. So without further ado, I wanted to enhance the network connections break delegate, because right now it doesn't tell you if the socket was closed gracefully or abruptly. If it's a graceful close, you can continue to send data in order to return a response. But if it's an abrupt, it's basically reset and you really shouldn't be using it. So I'm going to go in and let's go into Visual Studio actually. I'm going to go into the unit tests I have because I'm trying to use test-driven development in this. I think we already have some tests here for graceful versus not graceful closes. Yeah, close gracefully, close abruptly. So I want to enhance these. So the break callback is kind of told whether or not it was graceful or not. I need to check though if these not this one. If this close gracefully and close, hold on, let me check something. Okay, we're good. And that, yes. Okay, so the close gracefully, close abruptly test, I want to make sure that they're testing the correct direction. So let's see. Okay, this is the other direction where this is the client is the unit under test. We're telling it to close gracefully. So yeah, I don't have the opposite direction, so I really need to add that. So let's say this is initiate, close gracefully, and then the next test will be initiate, close abruptly. And then what I'll do is I'll take these tests and duplicate them. And then rename the duplicate receive, I guess. So this is where the unit on test is going to be receiving the indication of it breaking. So the setup's all the same. Set up a connection-oriented socket to get a connection. Right, and then we have a server socket to test it. Right? So here, instead of issuing a graceful close on the client, we'll issue a graceful close from the server. So here, I believe since it's just server connections, our socket, right? It's going to be server, it's actually going to be different depending on if it's Windows or POSIX. I think it's slightly different. For Windows, it's going to be shutdown, server connection, and then SD send, I think it is. For POSIX, it's slightly different. I believe it's send RW, although I need to double check. And that would be network connection POSIX. Shut down. Okay, shut RW. Okay, I was almost right. And in both cases, we're going to ignore the return value because we don't really care. Okay. And here now we're verifying the client connection is not broken until all the data is sent. Is that what we want? First, we will verify client receives the graceful close notification. So we're going to adjust our second delegate sent to process is a broken delegate. Right now, it does not get any arguments, but now we're going to give it an argument. Graceful. And we'll just pass that along. I'm going to have to update a bunch of the other tests. Okay. I think here we don't care. So we need to conform to the specification of the delegate, but we don't need to do anything with it. Yeah, okay. Param graceful. This indicates whether I need to slow down on my typing so I don't get so many typos. This indicates whether or not the peer of the connection has closed the connection gracefully, meaning we can continue to send data, to send our data back to the peer. So I think what we'll do is we'll forward this along. So I'll add that parameter to this guy. Whoa. That's not where I expected to go. Visual Studio, you're not helping. Here it is. Formatting. By the way, I made in my to-do list, subject of a future stream, I think, will be me going to research what other kinds of plugins I can get, or extensions I can get for Visual Studio and VSCode to do, like, help me with my coding efficiency. Okay. Oh, I guess this needs to be passed along. So we did need it. Okay. Yeah. We're going to probably see this a lot. Yep. So it's sort of the cost of me changing the API is that I'm going to have to do a lot of possibly tedious work and updating every usage of this API that's changed. And a lot of it's going to be in the tests. It's really just schooling me in not looking forward enough to realize I want to have two different kinds of broken connections. Okay. Some more places. I'm letting the little red, what do you call it? Oh, I already had one there. The red squigglies, or the little indicators on the right, kind of help me see where I need to make changes. And let's go update there. Hey, Rally Monkey. So let's go update the broken delegate specification. And I just wrote the documentation for that so we can steal it. Alright, so now that should get rid of a lot of the squigglies in the test. I should be able to actually build a test as it is now. No? Not quite. Aha, this has an extra... What am I saying? This needs to... This is given an extra parameter. Client... Actually... I need to stop and think, what am I going to do in this test? Close during broken connection callback. I guess here we're always just going to do an abrupt close, so false. Well, actually that's the default. It just needs to get but ignore the argument. Okay. So I was in the middle of writing this, right? So verify the client receives the Graceful Close connection. So we need to do one of these waits, right? Where did I have that? It's like client owner dot await this connection, and we'll expect true that we get it, and then we'll expect true client owner dot let's see, we have connection broken. Let's make a connection broken gracefully. This flag indicates whether or not a connection to the network has been broken gracefully. So it sort of overlaps the connection broken, but it also tells us, basically, if this is true, then we look at this, and if that's false, then it was a abnormal or abrupt close, otherwise it was a graceful close. So here, network connection broken. Where did I put that? Here it is. Connection broken. So we want to store it here. Connection broken gracefully equals graceful. All right. So after it's broken, we want to continue to try to receive from the server end, right? So the client is going to continue to send. We've told from the server end we're no longer sending, that's what that means, but we should be able to receive. And I think this is where we need to turn this into a true, right? And then assert true. Oh no, that's not quite right. Right. Yeah, so this final one here matches the shutdown. But okay, after this happens, I need to reset those flags, I believe. Because we're going to expect a second callback. Connection broken. False. Connection broken gracefully. False. And then we're going to check down here to expect that it is false. In other words, a final connection reset happens at the end. Okay, let me just eyeball this to see if it looks right to me. I think this is right. I'm not going to be able to build this because we changed an API, so I'm going to have to go through and at least fill in a naive implementation everywhere that is used, like here. So actually we kind of know the answer to this, right? If we get a socket error, it is not a graceful close. If we get to here, it is a graceful close. And then here is not graceful. And here, actually this is one of the ones that shouldn't happen. This, well, I guess it could happen. This means we're sending, but the peer said they're not taking any more. I don't think that ever happens, but let's say if it did, what would we call it? I guess we would call it a graceful close. No. We're deciding to immediate close, so it's going to be false. All right. Okay, close immediately. Close immediately, I think we're always going to say it's not graceful. Okay, next. Okay, this is in the adapter between the class we were just looking at and our web server. So it's going to get this graceful flag at this point. So I think we should just forward it. Which means we're going to have to change the signature of this delegate. Yeah, so it's going to be kind of like the lower level delegate. It's going to be basically the same thing. That's going to break other things, so let's go look. This actually might take a while for me to allow the design change to filter through the rest of the code base. I'm going to let the compiler guide me. Wherever what doesn't compile or link kind of will tell me what I need to change. Right, so this gets now a flag. Where are we? This is the actual web server when it gets a new connection. It sets up the broken delegate, right? So when that connection is closed, so maybe we don't need this flag anymore. Close R and oh no, this, okay, we still need this. Right, this closed flag means if the server closed its end. If the server closed its end already, we don't need to close our end. That's what that third argument is. And we'll just say the peer end close. I guess we don't really need this flag at all. It doesn't really matter. Flag. Yep. Flags. Flag football. Okay. Now this one is in the WebSocket. I think with the WebSocket, it doesn't matter. So we just ignore the argument again. The server tests. Client connection broken. Oh, hold on. That's my early warning system when anyone ever comes to the door, so... Let's see. Client connection broken. I think we do want to do an abrupt close. Same thing here. Basically, I think the rule will be, if we were calling the delegate before in a test, the old behavior was a non-graceful close. Yeah, okay, this is a no-op. Yeah, it's pretty abrupt too, and the dog barks. It's like completely unexpected. Disgraceful close, that's right. I guess what I'm doing is I'm using the language that Microsoft uses. So they use the word graceful. And they use abortive for the alternative, but I didn't like the word abortive. Just didn't sound appealing. So I could use that. I liked graceful, but I didn't like abortive, so I'm using abrupt or abnormal instead of abortive. Okay, let's see. This is for network endpoint. Okay, I think we do need to forward this now. So bool graceful, and we'll just pass it along. Which means this signature changes. Did I go to the right place? Oh, this is just a test. Oh, okay, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, next. Okay, a no-op. Let me clean this up a little bit. All right. It's bringing me to the same code, but moving my scrolling around. Okay, anyway. Hey, here's another no-op one. Oh, Visual Studio, you're funny sometimes. It's like if I click there, why did it change the scrolling? Like we're just bouncing around that, but it's like insisting on doing that to me. Okay. Right, this broken delegate needs to change. There we go. I don't know if that happens in VSCode actually. VSCode, I haven't yet integrated VSCode with the build tools. I have that as a note though. I want to set up, actually I don't have it as quite the same note, do I? I want to explore setting up VSCode integration with the build system. So that would be cmake and what build? Actually, I guess it's just cmake, because I just tell cmake to build. And when I do, part of that work will be VSCode should, when it runs a build system and gets output, it should do, I want it to do the same kind of thing, like tell me where the error messages are, and I would like to be able to click, double click and get there. So until I do that, I don't really know if VSCode does that or not. Okay, this takes a while. Part of the reason I was looking into VSCode integration, like how to do that, is I could then do a lot of debugging and development on Linux and then get away from this weird problem I'm having with my computer crashing on Windows. Something to do with the debugger is sometimes crashing my computer. Okay, this test, okay, it's false again. Old behavior. Are we good to go? Let's see. Looks like it, so everything built. So let's run system abstractions test debug. System abstractions test. It looks like it's hung. Looks like it's hung. Let's see where it is. I'm going to do debug, attach to process, and I'm going to find out what's the name of our thing? Skype. It's system abstractions test. And then I can hit break. Okay, so, okay, it's stuck in this receive. Ooh. Okay, it's just not initialized yet. So it's stuck in this receive. Okay, we got a worker thread. What's it doing? Nothing? What happened? I guess I was expecting to see the thread for the client processor thread, but maybe that's the problem. It's stopping. Will I could probably see that if I look at client. Platform. No processor stop is false. It should have a thread. So it should be 21096. How come I don't see it? That's really weird. Let me stop debugging. Control C on that guy, and let's just run this in the debugger. I tempt fate now whenever I do this. Because this debugger is some combination of the debugger and my computer is causing crashes. So this was receive, right? Close. And go. And break. Okay, yeah, so there's the thread. One of these two. No? So did the thread terminate? It did. Okay, that's bad. So let's take a look at that processor thread and see where it's exiting. Guess it's going to be hard to see. It's going to be whenever one of these breaks happens, right? That's probably what it is, right? It's breaking out of the processor thread. Yeah, so that's the, we just haven't implemented this correctly, I think. Let's put a breakpoint on every break. Break. There's one there. In there. Okay. And this, yeah, so that never got set, so this should break. Okay, there's where it happened. So connection got closed gracefully. Ooh. Yeah, that's a bug. We should not be breaking. Should not be breaking. The other thing is, I think I had this on my notes. Don't try to read the socket that the peer has already gracefully closed it. Because I was looking through this code and I'm like, oh yeah, the next time it'll call receive. There's no check against this flag being set. So we should do a check there. Let's put it here. If it's not closed, we will try to read. We have another check down here. If we have data to send, we try to send it. And I'll get the breaks in here, why not? Yeah, so when the peer does close it, it'll continue to loop through and should send the rest of the data here. This little part here is if we close first, and we basically say we're shutting down, and then we basically are continuing to possibly read data, but when we receive... How does this work? Oh no, sorry. This is where we are shutting down, but we haven't yet run out of data. But once we do, then we send a shutdown. Wait until we receive a close in the read part, and then we close. If this flag is already set, hold on. Yeah, this peer closed. We'll close immediately if they have closed their end. Yeah, okay. Don't know if I explained that correctly, but and essentially trying to implement this graceful shutdown socket closure. So if you want to, if you're okay reading stuff, hopefully this explains what I'm trying to implement. So let's try that. I'm going to be optimistic and try to run it outside the debugger. Okay, cool. Oh, it actually crashed after the test failed. Bytes received less than... Okay, let's run that in debugger. And what did we get? An exception? It kind of dumped out without running the rest of the tests. I'm looking at this. To automatically close the console. Okay, so this seems to be new to me. I wonder if this was happening before. I just updated Visual Studio. So maybe this is new. It's just being nice. It's saying we kept the console open so you can see the result. Okay, so it did run all the way through. Why did this terminated early though? Probably because I have a filter on. Let's remove the filter. Or make the filter all. Aha, we're getting an exception thrown. Ah, okay. Probably because our main thread is already returned. Yeah, it's destroying. It's on its way. We're trying to return. See, it's destroying the network connection. So we need to be careful here. How do we do this? Right, this is on the stack. I suppose I can just make that a shared pointer. Then at least won't crash. So auto equals standard make shared. And then I just pass it in and then turn dots into arrows. Change all these dots to arrows and we should be good. All right. I just don't want to. I don't want to see this kind of thing here, or where it just doesn't get to the end of my test suite. Okay, so it got to the end of the test suite. Okay. So let's see what's going on. Put the filter back in. And let's go up to here. Okay, I must have removed the breakpoint in the test. Okay, it was here, right? So it's getting an early close, so we're not handling the graceful close correctly. So let's see what happens in the network connection when it receives that graceful close. Let's actually, I'm going to remove all the breakpoints. Ring! Graceful close is received here, right? So what's going on? Okay, it got there. Broken delegate true. Okay, that's probably going to end up going... Whoa, how do we end up there? Let's see. Okay, it's sitting here. Cool, that's where we expect it to be, so... Actually, that part's running fine. It's just not... Okay, it's being closed early. Is that the problem? What happens after? Does this continue to send? It should. Yeah, see, it sends in 64 kilobyte chunks. Right, weight is false. So it skips that. It's just going to keep trying to send. Okay, I'm seeing that. I think I'm just not waiting long enough. Or because I'm running the debugger, I'm using too much real time. So let's just continue. I'm wondering if it's just waiting to... It's not taking... No? Let me see how many bytes it actually got back. So that will be just adding... Oh, it was already printing that. 0? Interesting. Why is it not receiving anything back? Let's print out something else. Receive returned. Let's just see what it's returning. Is it returning some kind of error? Okay. Oh, I had the logic backwards here. That's false. I'll keep in the debugging though. It doesn't cost me anything. So maybe it's just my test was wrong. Cool. So it got through the receiving, it just didn't get the disconnection. I think I might know why. So that was what, 9... So it got all the way down to here and this didn't happen. I think that's because... this is not calling the broken delegate again. Yeah, if the peer was closed immediately, it's probably just not calling the broken delegate. Yeah, see, we had this thing in there. Let's keep that in there. I mean, let's bring that back so that it it does that. That's probably it. Yeah, before I was trying to prevent the broken delegate from being called twice, but I think we do want to call it twice, because the first time it'll say graceful, and the second time abrupt, because that's the final close, which resets the connection. It's abrupt. Okay, still not getting the callback though. Let's put a breakpoint there. And put the, okay, it's already on there. Okay, actually I'm going to do this. Hold on, I just noticed something. I saw that it actually stopped waiting. Why does it say 10 seconds? Let me run that again. Yeah, see, it already passed through. It didn't wait long enough, basically. So let me put the breakpoint 9:54. Hold on, that should have returned true either right away or false after a second. So why did it return right away with false? Let's put a breakpoint there. And then just step over. Actually did wait a second. So what's the processor thread doing? Wrong one. Processor thread quit already. Okay. What's going on? It quit, so it hit one of these breaks early.